Imagine discovering that the greatest conqueror in history didn't just win battles with swords and spears, but with spreadsheets, supply chains, and silent financial control. What if Alexander the Great didn't simply conquer the world by force, but by mastering money, resources, and economic pressure? What if behind every victory, there was a hidden financial move that decided the outcome long before the fighting even began? Stay with me, because once you see Alexander through this lens, history will never look the same again. Alexander the Great is remembered as a military genius, a fearless warrior, and a king who built the largest empire. But what most history books skip is how insanely expensive conquest actually was. Armies don't move on courage alone. Soldiers need to be paid. Horses need food. Weapons need metal. Cities need administration. Every mile Alexander marched cost money, resources, and planning. And yet, he never ran out. That alone should make you stop and ask, how? Before Alexander ever crossed into Asia, his father Philip II had already laid the financial groundwork. Philip didn't just unify Macedonia with force. He seized gold and silver mines, especially those in Thrace, and turned Macedonia into a cash-rich state. This meant Alexander inherited something far more powerful than an army. He inherited liquidity. While Greek city-states argued and borrowed, Macedonia printed wealth through metal. From day one, Alexander had a war chest that most kings could only dream of. When Alexander invaded the Persian Empire, people imagined a reckless charge against overwhelming odds. In reality, it was a calculated financial gamble. Persia was rich beyond belief. Its treasuries were filled with decades of accumulated gold and silver, much of it locked away. Alexander knew that if he could strike the right cities, he wouldn't just defeat Persia militarily. He would absorb its wealth and instantly solve the biggest problem of war, funding it. And that's exactly what he did. When Alexander captured cities like Sardis, Damascus, and later Persepolis, he didn't just burn palaces for drama. He seized treasuries. In Persepolis alone, historians estimate he took tens of thousands of talents of precious metals. To put that into perspective, this was enough to pay his army for decades. Overnight, Alexander went from an invading general to the wealthiest man in the known world. Here's where it gets really interesting. Alexander didn't hoard that wealth. He released it. By melting down Persian bullion and minting new coins, he flooded the economy with currency bearing his image. This wasn't just payment. It was propaganda. Every soldier, merchant, and trader now carried Alexander's face. Money moved. Trade expanded. Loyalty increased. This was ancient monetary policy in action. Quick pause here. If you're enjoying this kind of hidden history breakdown and you want more stories that reveal the systems behind power, make sure you like the video and subscribe to BioForge right now. It really helps the channel grow, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Alexander also understood something modern governments still struggle with. Control the supply lines, and you control the outcome. Instead of dragging massive supply caravans, he often forced his army to live off the land. But this wasn't random looting. It was targeted. Regions that resisted were stripped. Regions that cooperated were protected and integrated into trade networks. Fear and reward worked together. Economically, rebellion became expensive. Another overlooked move was how Alexander handled local elites. Instead of wiping them out, he often kept them in power. Why? Because they already knew how to collect taxes, manage land, and control labor. Alexander didn't need to reinvent administration. He just took the top seat. This meant conquered regions kept producing wealth instead of collapsing. Empires don't survive on destruction alone. They survive on cash flow. Alexander's march into Egypt shows this perfectly. Egypt was not just a symbolic prize. It was an economic engine. Grain from Egypt fed armies and cities across the Mediterranean. By taking Egypt without destroying it, Alexander secured a stable food supply. Food equals stability. Stability equals loyalty. Loyalty equals power. This was strategic economics disguised as conquest. Then there's the founding of cities, especially Alexandria. People often see these as ego projects, but in reality, they were financial hubs. Alexander placed cities along trade routes, near rivers, ports, and crossroads. These cities became centers of commerce, taxation, and cultural blending. Greek merchants moved in. Local markets expanded. Trade exploded. Alexander wasn't just conquering land. He was building infrastructure. Even his decision to adopt Persian customs wasn't just cultural curiosity. It was economic diplomacy. By presenting himself as a legitimate successor to Persian kings, Alexander reduced resistance. Less resistance meant fewer revolts. Fewer revolts meant lower military costs. This is the kind of cost-cutting strategy CEOs use today, not ancient warriors. But here's the darker side. All this depended on Alexander being alive. He was the central authority holding together armies, governors, and money flows. When he died suddenly at just 32, there was no clear financial or administrative succession plan. The money was there. The system was not. His generals, the Diadochi, immediately turned on each other. Treasuries were split. Armies were bribed. Inflation crept in as more coin was minted to fund endless wars. The same wealth that built the empire now destroyed it. This is a lesson we see repeated throughout history. Money without unity becomes fuel for collapse. Alexander's empire didn't fall because it lacked strength. It fell because it lacked structure beyond one man. His hidden financial genius created rapid expansion, but it also created dependency on his leadership. When that vanished, so did stability. So when you think of Alexander the Great, don't just picture a warrior on horseback. Picture a strategist who understood that wars are won before battles begin. That gold can be as powerful as steel. That controlling money, trade, and resources can bend entire civilizations without constant fighting. In many ways, Alexander was running the world's first globalized economy, centuries before the word even existed. This is why his story still matters today. Modern empires, corporations, and governments follow the same playbook. Control resources, secure supply chains, reward loyalty, punish resistance economically, print money with your image. The tools change, but the strategy doesn't. If this perspective made you rethink history, now's a great time to like the video. And if you have thoughts on whether Alexander was a hero, a tyrant, or history's first financial mastermind, drop a comment below. I read them all. Share this video with someone who loves history or economics, because chances are they've never heard Alexander's story told this way. This is BioForge, where we don't just tell you what happened, we show you how power really worked behind the scenes.